Hello all, and another walk home, so another video. Today I thought I would change tact a bit on the videos that I have produced so far, which have mostly been centered on the situation in the United States, and one or two videos centered on the recent strikes in Ireland. Today I thought it would be interesting to have a look at what the Irish position would be if a reform UK government came to power in the United Kingdom in the foreseeable future. What are the ups for us, what are the downs, and how this would play out in the long term. So first off, for those of you who don't know, Reform UK is a pro-British, anti-EU right-wing party in the UK that has been gaining a lot of traction recently, especially in the local elections which have just taken place in the United Kingdom. They are led by a man named Nigel Farage, who's a very controversial figure in many ways, and he has a very loyal and very core following, but because of mismanagement of the British political system under first the Tories and more recently the Labour government, a lot of people have been turning to reform as an alternative to the more traditional two-party system, which in the UK is Labour representing kind of centre-left politics, and Conservative, which traditionally used to represent centre-right politics, but have more slipped further towards the right in the last couple of years. Reform UK is really was really birthed out of the whole Brexit movement, which is a movement still ongoing in the UK to see the UK completely disconnect from the European Union and have no entanglements with European Union policies or ideas. This has put them initially at loggerheads with Ireland because we're a very pro-EU country, much more so than many others. And so Reform UK policies with regard to the EU contradict or go against policies that we follow here or that we're happy with here. So the key areas that that a Reform UK government in the United Kingdom could affect Ireland is, as far as I can see, there's about 5 key areas. Northern Ireland, the economy, the immigration and the common travel area, financial investment, and finally the environment. So let's take each of those in turn. So Reform UK is closely aligned with the Democratic Unionist Party in Northern Ireland, which is a pro-unionist group that wishes to see Northern Ireland remain very strongly part of the United Kingdom. Northern Ireland, for those of you who don't know, is a region on the island of Ireland, which is politically part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, whereas the rest of Ireland is known as the Republic of Ireland, or just Ireland, in the Gaelic. Since Brexit in 2016, there has been an ongoing disagreement between the United Kingdom and the rest of and the Republic of Ireland regarding the border between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. This border, which is an open border since the 1998 peace agreement known as the Good Friday Agreement, which brought an end to almost 30 years of sectarian violence in the north, this border has been open due to that peace agreement. If Reform UK was to come to power, especially if they came to power with Democratic Unionist Party support, it could mean that infrastructure might end up going up on that border. Now, there was already an agreement made with a previous Conservative government called the Windsor Framework, which indicated that no immigration infrastructure would go up on the border between Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. And honestly, guys, it's a fierce bad idea. A lot of the border areas are pro-Irish, and even putting up something as simple as a speed camera on that border is going to cause a lot of aggro and anguish. The current situation is that immigration and trade, which we'll be talking about a little bit later, is done through the ports and airports, with a so-called sea border between the United Kingdom and the island of Ireland, the island of Britain and the island of Ireland. This, of course, is very unsatisfactory for the Unionist population, who see it as dividing them from the rest of the United Kingdom, which we could always talk about at some other stage as to why that's a ridiculous idea, but let's not get off track here. The Reform UK government could very conceivably put up border infrastructure on that border, and this would potentially cause violence to erupt again in Ireland, because despite the fact that the peace has been enforced there for almost 30 years now, for 20 years, sorry, it is still a very fraught society, a very divided society. The second aspect to this is leaving the European Court of Human Rights, or the ECHR, which Reform UK has been advocating, because the ECHR prevents them, in their minds, from putting forward policies or putting into effect policies of which are very anti-immigrant. However, the ECHR is one of the bodies that monitors the whole situation in Northern Ireland and the peace that is there. So the UK leaving the ECHR could basically bring down the whole peace agreement that has been in effect there. So this is the most worrying issue, as it was during Brexit as well, that this could end up restarting civil conflict in the north. Now, by the way, when I say the north, I mean Northern Ireland. So that's the first situation, is tensions over Northern Ireland. The second is with regards to the economy. Ireland still does an awful lot of its trade with or through the United Kingdom, and despite the fact that Brexit put a huge dent in that trade, we're still quite close trade partners. So having extra trading blocks put into place, which Reform is advocating because they want to limit the amount of trade with the European Union as a whole, which Ireland is a part of, would cause a huge amount of disruption with Irish companies and British companies trading back and forth across the Irish Sea. There's as I said, an awful lot of trade takes place, and this type of disruption would be very, very unwelcome. So, with the loss of jobs being paramount, with also loss of tax income and just loss of income in general. Now we're better insulated from this than we were with Brexit, but nevertheless we're just about getting our feet under us since Brexit and the pandemic. So a disruption to trade networks, especially in this era where you get a lot of interesting things happening, we'll say, in the Middle East, would be very, very unwise. The third issue that I want to bring up is the fact of immigration. Now, the Irish and the British have a very unique system where we've got a thing called the Common Travel Area, which means that British citizens can work and live in Ireland as if they're Irish citizens, and we can work and live in Britain in the same way, even vote in each other's general elections, without there being any disruption between our two societies or any visas or anything else like that necessary. Now, Reform doesn't seem to have any major problem with this. You never hear them advocate to dismantle the Common Travel Area, or the CTA as it is known, which is a good thing for us. But nevertheless, the CTA does cause Reform a bit of a headache, in that it allows immigrants to potentially go from the Republic of Ireland across the open border into Northern Ireland and gain access to the EU, to the UK in that direction. This is also, and has been seen to be the case quite recently, a headache in the opposite direction for the Irish government, where you saw a lot of people fleeing British policies, the British Rwanda policy, which was basically forced relocation of so-called illegal immigrants to Rwanda by the British government there a few years ago, which didn't take place really, except for one or two cases. But you see a lot of immigrants fleeing Britain across the border, across into Northern Ireland, and then down into the Republic of Ireland. So much so that it did cause a lot of diplomatic upset between their two countries. So if Reform, like I mentioned previously, leaving the European Court of Human Rights, if they were to leave that, they could very well put something similar to the Rwanda scheme into effect again, which could cause a lot of upset on the between Ireland and the UK, as people flee the UK into Ireland, or as people use Ireland as a stepping board to get back into the UK once they clamp down more heavily on the small boat immigration from Calais and the north of France to Dover in the south of England, which is another policy that they want to put into effect. So this is a major issue with regards to our two communities. The fourth headache, well, it's not more so a headache for the British than it would be for the Irish, is the financial situation. Ireland has become quite an important financial hub in Europe since Brexit, because a lot of banks and investment companies relocated to Ireland as Britain was more fully outside of the EU. Now, if financial services are hit by a Reform UK government as they further disconnect themselves from the EU, this would actually end up being a positive thing for Ireland, as even more of these companies could relocate to Ireland, and Ireland would become even more so of a bridge between Europe and America. And despite the fact that politically America has gone a little bit crazy these days, from an Irish perspective, it is still one of the major trading partners with Europe, if not the major trading partner with Europe, and a lot of American companies seeking English-speaking, well-educated workforce to set up their base of operations, do set up their bases of operations here in Ireland. So this is one of the few positive aspects of this. The final aspect is the environment. The Reform has taken a very dim view of environmental reform. and in doing that could very much affect joint operations between the Irish and the Northern Irish government with environmental protection, particularly to do with energy and the energy connectors that connect the Republic of Ireland to Northern Ireland. This could cause major issues, but are very, especially in the agricultural sector, but are very much sidelined by the other issues that are at play here, which unfortunately the environmental concerns always seems to take second place to most other issues with regards to any country or society these days on the world, and much to our own detriment, I think. But anyway, so reform getting into power in the UK would end up cooling off relations that have been slowly getting back onto even scale between Dublin and London. Most Irish people would not really like or don't have particularly great regard for Nigel Farage, particularly after several gaffes that he made with regards to Ireland in the not so recent past, and his advocation of a border on the island of Ireland during the whole Brexit situation and negotiations. So it would be better for us if we maintained a friendly Labour government that would slowly realign the UK back with the EU. A Conservative government that we can understand and we can work with would be a good second alternative. The Reform government in the UK would make a lot of people a little bit nervous. Now, just getting back for the final point, getting back to Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, one final positive aspect of this is because Reform UK is so fully committed to kind of a pro-English, pro-British viewpoint, that this could actually push Northern Ireland closer and closer towards unification. Now, will unification come under a Reform government? I don't think so. I don't think it'll get to that stage. But with a Reform government trying to pull down the very fragile connections that have been established since Brexit between the EU and the UK, it could be that more moderate voters in Northern Ireland would see that, look, this isn't going to work, that it's going to take an awful long time for British society, particularly on mainland Britain, to come to the conclusion that being back in the EU is actually a good thing. That you will have it slowly but sure, well, you do have it amongst the general population, but the political will to do it is just not there, and can easily be reversed should a government be voted out of power. So this could push them even more fully into the camp of wanting to get unification. We'll just have to wait and see how it turns out, or even if a Reform government will come to power in the UK. Local elections are not a very good indicator of how people feel on the national level, and in many cases people either don't vote in local elections, they don't bother, or they will use it as a protest vote against the incumbent government. So are we to be too surprised if Reform does quite well in these elections? Not so much. But will this indicate that Nigel Farage will be the next Prime Minister of the UK? Well, that might be pushing it a little bit too far. Then again, God only knows what will happen. Right, thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye.